We live in a digital world where scams and loots often find you in the digital space. But it looks like it's not just limited to scams and frauds. Unfortunately, as learned from the Ghaziabad incident where a conversion racket was busted in the digital space, specifically on gaming apps and portals. Their target is unassuming innocent children and teens, minors who spend hours together on some of these gaming apps. Now, for their families, the only complaint perhaps was the amount of time their kids spent in front of a computer. But that was until now, because this case has blown the lid off how these apps and how these gaming portals have become an open ground to lure and trap victims and attempt to forcibly convert them. Now, an FIR in this case was registered on the 30th of May. The main accused was finally nabbed yesterday from another state altogether, kilometers away. Here's how the mastermind was actually nabbed. Now, whether he's a mastermind or he's just a pawn, that's again up to investigation. But remember, it was an FIR in Ghaziabad, like I said, that was filed on the 30th of May, about 12 days ago. That's when the entire case came to the fore. That was in Ghaziabad, here in the National Capital Region. Shift focus now to Mumbai in the Thane district of Maharashtra, where this accused was a resident of. His residence was found there. There were raids conducted, but Shahnawaz Khan, the main accused, was nowhere to be found. His location then was tracked to another part of Mumbai, that is in Worli. The location was tracked, but then again, he evaded the police. He managed to slip under the radar once again, but not until long. Finally, he was tracked down to Alibag in Maharashtra, where he fled from Mumbai too. He hid in a local lodge. There's CCTV footage that shows him going in and out of that lodge as well. We have pictures of the kind of documents he used to find refuge in that local lodge. He was finally arrested after overnight raids that were conducted by the Ghaziabad police, by the Thane police, all in connection, all in together working to ensure that this conversion racket is busted. Now, here's how the accused was actually tracked down. This is how the investigating agencies actually closed in on him. Now, Shahnawaz Khan bought a new SIM card not too long ago. Thane police tracked his location based on that particular SIM card. The location was then tracked to Alibag, like I said. There were two teams that were formed. 5 cops were assigned to the task of tracking him down. Lodges and cottages were searched in Alibag. Now, remember, Alibag is a coastal town. It's where a lot of tourists flock. So there are a lot of hotels, there are a lot of cottages, beachside ones at that are prevalent there. All of them had to be raided over the course of time. The police held Shahnawaz and his brother from a lodge. He was not alone. The accused and his brother used a different identity for obvious reasons. They were trying to evade police's radar. The police also detained the SIM card provider. Was the SIM card procured giving false documents? That's also something that the cops will have to look at, which is why the man who provided them with the SIM card is also now under arrest. Here's what interrogation so far in this case has revealed. This is what Shahnawaz Khan has told the police so far. He's revealed to them that he contacted the victims through an online game. It's called Fortnite. It's a very popular game. There are mobile numbers that were then shared by victims over a period of time when trust was built. Once the mobile numbers were shared, then communication began on another platform. This is called Discord. There were chats of that we've accessed here on CNN News 18 as well. Then there was another gaming app that was used. It's called Valorant. The gaming app was used to make contact with these victims. All of this started by December 2021. So this racket has been going on since then. There's something called an ice box. It's a level of a game where you reach, and once you reach there, that is when the accused knew that these victims had to be lured in. The victims were told about religious conversions once they reached that particular level called the ice box in this game. There were Zakir Naik's speeches that were shared with victims either on the app or through WhatsApp. There were links that were shared as well. That is how unassuming children, teenagers were trapped. They were told about jihad, they were told about Islam, and that's how this accused was trying to lure them and forcibly convert them. Was he doing this alone? Perhaps not. There's logistical support that's required to be doing this. He was sitting in Maharashtra and Mumbai, and of course this game is being played across the country, across the world as well. He could be targeting certain people. Were they picked at random? Were they being targeted for who they were? All of that is going to be a matter of investigation. Former IPS officer Yash Azad continues to be with us. Jiten Jain, cybersecurity expert, also joining me, and Hindu human rights activist Rashmi also joins us. And Jiten Jain, let me get you in first. You know, this is not any online portal. It's a game. There are unassuming children there. Many adults, of course, also play these games, but these are minors who wouldn't know what really is happening with them. They're perhaps taking whatever is being said to them on face value. These are people that they've been playing with perhaps for months or years together.
So Poonam, the gaming apps are now a new emerging threat for encrypted communication, which is being used by terrorist sympathizers, and religious extremists. Now, the problem here is that, see, in any sort of if you want to use internet or these apps for terrorism or extremism, the fundamental problem these people are trying to solve is the contact. Now, these gaming apps have become a very, has provided a very innocent alibi to establish an unknown contact, where you come in, contact with random people in the disguise of playing a game. And mind you, most of these games are violent games like PUBG and all. And once you start playing, because they're multi-player games, once you start playing together as a team, you develop a sort of virtual bond and trust, and you play for months and years, and you're in a way, and while you're playing, you're chatting live, you're talking to each other as a team, what to shoot, whom to shoot, where to hide. So over a period of 5-6 months, you would see these people develop a very, close a group of trust, where they share their personal lives, they talk about each other, they share their thought process, ideas, their views about politicians, religions, and everything.
Yes.
And because they are playing violent games all the time, there is a the inherent acceptance to carry out violence themselves in the real life. Now, since these games, most of them are provide encrypted chatting opportunities, and most of them are not regular apps we use like Instagram and WhatsApp. So they stay out of the radar of intelligence agencies, security agencies, and in many of the cases, or most of the cases, I would say, we don't even know who runs these gaming companies, where the servers are hosted, who's responsible, who's accountable. Is there any law enforcement contact available? Are they run by Chinese agencies? Are they run by Pakistani agencies like ISPR, merely as a disguise of propaganda? Or are they actually a game which are being misused? So we have absolutely no idea. So in the absence of any regulation of gaming industry, in the absence of any surveillance capability over the encrypted chats these games provide, I think it is becoming very, very difficult for intelligence agency to keep a watch, and it has provided a very easy alibi to this, terror nexuses and extremists to carry out, unidentified contact with random people, especially children and minors who are in early, teenage, and slowly poison and brainwash their mind and, drag them towards religious extremist ideologies. And one fine day you will find, even if 1% of these people are converted towards religious extremism, even if a small fraction of them pick up arms, it becomes a problem.
Absolutely.
So I think the first thing what we need to do is we need to carry out a substantive or comprehensive gaming regulation in India. We need whitelist apps. We need to, the way we are trying to regulate news websites, we are trying to regulate,
this is a new realm. This is a new realm for law enforcement agencies as well. These are new challenges that will come up, and we need new ways to combat it as well. But Rashmi Samant, as far as
Poonam, worse is that forget intelligence agencies, even parents are not even able to carry out, oversight in their homes. They don't even know what games children are playing.
Yes.
There is a problem of addiction. There is a problem of violence, and especially in a game like PUBG. And despite of a sitting ban by Indian government, current ban, this game has gone on for 2 years. Throwing away all laws, all bans into the dustbin, making a real mockery of government laws.
Absolutely, and now that facets like these facets of religious conversion are now coming to the fore, that perhaps needs a better management, better mechanism to deal with this. And Rashmi Samant, coming back to this particular issue as far as religious conversion is concerned, we hear these tales coming to the fore ever so often. These are children that are brainwashed, minors that are brainwashed by not someone who's done this for years together. The accused in this case, Shahnawaz Khan, himself is a 23-year-old.
Exactly. I think there's a huge problem in which way this is being, put forth in our society. I think this is a new brand of psychological warfare that we are seeing, spreading like cancer all around society. And the people indulging in these are also people who are brainwashed into doing this. They are young people too. I think it goes on to say a lot about how deep the network is and how invested it is in making this happen. They're finding people, who are the same age so that they can relate with the victims they're choosing, and the amount of planning that is going into, making sure that these malicious activities go on is on another level. I think we are not even beginning to, grasp the magnitude of the problem that it is right now, or it will become in the near future. Because the youth, by the end of the day, they are the future of our nation. And, their well-being, their state of mind, and their psychology is very important to ensure and secure the future of our nation. So I think this is extremely worrisome, and the fact that they are targeting our youth seems to be, the new frontier of psychological warfare. Gone are the days when we demarcated our borders with, physical boundaries, where we protected our boundaries with physical posts and arms. I think it's seeped to a level where they're trying to affect the very psychology of our young people. And this is not just, I think, something that we see here in India. This is being observed across the world. When I was studying abroad, I saw this sort of attempt being made at young children of different communities, on and to radicalize them and to bring them onto these radical manifestos. I think the regulation needs to come in at multiple levels. Parents, teachers, schools, and all kinds of influence that exist in the life of a young person in this country need to be guided, need to be educated on the evils and on the sort of circumstances of these incidents, so that everybody is wary of these incidents and there's enough information hands-on so that the youth do not fall prey, or if they're showing any tendencies, the people around them do have the capabilities to sense them and to give them the necessary help.
Absolutely. And Yashovardhan Azad, is it possible that he was just a pawn? This 23-year-old was just a pawn in the hands of a puppeteer that was orchestrating this entire thing, because so far the police believed he was the mastermind. But the details that are now coming to the fore, the kind of racket that was running, it's hard to believe that he was doing this by himself.
No, not at all. In fact, I read from your piece in the CNN or something that there was a Maulvi who was collaborating with him, and he has already been successful in converting 3. What is really shocking in this particular case is that a person with 23-year-old, so internet savvy, such a professional and an intelligent guy, and is so heavily radicalized to that extent that not only committing himself to these acts, but also bringing other people into the fold. And that is something really shocking. And I think the entire police force will sort of sit up of all the states. In new age policing, technology is the critical factor. Today we are with the digital technology, that the way we have gone so advanced, we are also facing the other side of the wrath of the digital technology. And that's why you see frauds happening on the internet, these banking frauds and all these issues. The police is really grappling with it and needs to have a real more and more cybersecurity sentinels, and also collaboration with the industry. I also agree with Ms. Rashmi, a good point, that a societal response is also called for. Even kids 7 years old, when you go to neighbors' houses, you see them, they are busy on the internet, they are busy on mobile, and perhaps the whole day, the entire exercise is through internet. Their whole language, their mode of behavior is expressed through internet. In such a case, I think the vulnerability is very, very high, and especially when it comes to the minors. And I would therefore say that apart from the societal response, there has to be a regulation, a proper, comprehensive regulation, which does not, sort of gaggle or the gaming apps, but a fair one. There should be a wide interaction, and then come up with a proper so that we don't have this kind of incidents.
Absolutely. And we have to ensure, like I said when Jiten Jain was also speaking, we need a new mechanism, because we're dealing with newer challenges. This is something that we hadn't seen so far. But Rashmi Samant, having said that, this kind of radicalism that we've seen, we may be seeing it on a different front, on a new front, but the pattern is pretty much the same. Do you think in this particular case then, these victims that were lured based on whom this FIR was filed, were they picked at random? Or was there a concerted effort to try and target certain people?
Well, I think we've seen a trend wherein misinformation, misguided notions have been repeatedly used to target indigenous people across the world. And we've seen that in India, especially, this has been directed at the dharmic religions, mainly the Hindus, the Sikhs, the Jains, and the Buddhists. They've been targeted time and again with these kinds of notions. Earlier, it was the sort of forceful conversion that came their way, and now you see the more subtler ways wherein people are brainwashed using God knows what technique, where they prey on insecurities of young people, where
Yes.
they prey on expectations and aspirations of young people in a very misappropriated, misinformed way, in a way to manipulate their feelings. You can see clearly here how they were manipulating the ways in which the kids were winning games by saying that you won the game because you were reciting a certain part of a holy book or something like that. So that kind of a premise was set in. So that is clearly trying to push trying to bait young people. So this kind of a pattern was also observed, if you see, in the Kerala story, where the young girls were told that if they certainly pray to a certain god, then probably no one's going to misbehave with them in public. So this kind of manipulation is being used, and you can see that it is being used both virtually and
Yes. And they're trying to target the young.
But the
It's
pattern
easier
is
perhaps to
somewhere there.
brainwash them. They're trying to target them young. That's the bigger problem that
That's
we're
there,
now
because see,
facing, which is why even the mechanism that we put in place, Jiten, needs to start early. We have to ensure that we do try and end this menace and nip it right in the bud. But given, like you said, there are no regulations, so then how do we do that?
So I think first we have to inculcate a culture of digital parenting amongst families, so that children are not given a mobile phone without imparting basic digital hygiene. I mean, there has to be a family oversight in terms of how many hours you spend on mobile devices, and then the government's role come in. I think you have to regulate these gaming apps because they are becoming the root source of addiction and violent behavior among children. So I mean, China is doing it. Many European countries are doing this. So game like PUBG would be forced to set a time limit in a day that ordinary user would not be able to play this game more than 45 minutes. Second, I think when you are allowing children to play games, let's say violent games, I mean, even in any sort of game among children, I don't think there is any need of encrypted chats. I think, first of all, in India, encryption for the games has to go, especially when minor children are being allowed to play. So that law enforcement agencies can do a proper, create a proper, surveillance mechanism over these chats. I think there is no justification for a game to allow encrypted chats. I mean, there is no state secret, there is no privacy here. You're just discussing a game. So even if you take off the encryption during the communication module, I think that would be a better step. Third, I think I read a report last week that government of India is trying to, deciding to lift the ban on PUBG and give them a test trial for 3 months. I think without addressing the fundamental issues when the game was banned, issue of addiction and the issue of violent behavior among children committing suicide after playing these games, I mean, emptying credit cards of parents to buy some points. I think without addressing this issue and especially supervise the Ministry of Health and Welfare, I don't think we should lift the bans on games like PUBG.
Sure, we should start small, perhaps small steps in the right direction, and that is really what is required as far as regulating these games are concerned. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Jiten, but I'm completely out of time. I'll have to leave it at that. I thank you all for joining us here on this broadcast with your perspective.